This is the most important tool that you need to know how to use if you're ever going to do any adjustments to a wheelchair. I'm going to show you the science behind it so you can avoid doing expensive damage to someone's really, really precious wheelchair. You're about to become an expert in wheelchair tools. Let's dive in. Now, every wheelchair toolkit needs to have a set of Allen keys.
Allen!
First, it's important to understand the anatomy of the key.
Allen!
You've got a short head and a long head. Now, the long head is designed for speed and reaching. So you can reach into a bolt, drop it in, and spin it really fast so you can wind the bolt all the way into the thread. Now, the short end gives you more leverage. So when you put it in, if you're trying to open a bolt, you want to use the short end so you've got more leverage to open it. Same goes if you're tightening, you want to do the final tighten this way. And when you do tighten a bolt, the general rule of thumb is spin it all the way until you feel tension, and then I'll say but usually a quarter turn past tight. Now, whenever you're loosening or tightening the bolt, obviously we're going to use the short end, but you want to make sure your line of pull or push is in a straight direction. Even if you're just pushing down a little bit or up a little, if you angle it a little bit off, the tool comes out of the head and it will slip out. And when it slips out, it damages the head of the bolt. So when you've got a bolt, it'll be like a hex shaped Allen key, and it goes in, and it's in nice and snug, and you want to push in a nice straight direction. If you angle it, it's gonna slip out, boom, and that pretty little shape will turn more into a circle. And that's really bad. So don't rush, be intentional with every movement you make, put it in, think of the direction, and you'll be fine. Another thing to know about Allen keys is they'll either come in metric sizes or Imperial sizes. Metrics is your 2, 3, 4, 5 mil, and Imperial is like your 316 or your 538, so just crazy numbers. So, which ones do you use? Now, in my experience, 95% of the bolts that use in wheelchairs today all use metric Allen key. But there are a few stragglers that still live in the dark ages. You know who you are. But I work with wheelchairs every day, so I know which brands are metric and which brands are Imperial. But how do you know? Well, I'll tell you. Okay, so this is a 5mm bolt. This is a 5mm Allen key. It goes in quite nice with very little movement amongst it. Although this one, which I believe is a 3/8 or something, a very similar size, but when you put it in, there's a little bit of movement in there. And that movement, when you put a lot of tension on there, can make that head strip. So the best way to put it is to always try the metric one first, and then try the Imperial. And if you feel one of them's wiggle than the other, then you want to avoid that one and go the one that's more snug. Also, some Allen keys have a ball end in them. And if you're wondering why that is because now I can spin the bolt even if I'm not on the right angle. So I think you get about 20 degrees movement in there where you can spin the bolt and you don't have to be dead straight as if like you're doing this one here. So if you can get Allen keys with a ball end, that's really, really good. But these can also snap off. So you don't want to put too much tension on these. You don't want to open bolts on the long end. You should never do that anyway. You should always be using the short end on the high tension points. Boom, crack the bolt, and then up, and away we go. So that's it. Short head to open the bolt. Make sure you take your time, get the angle right. Make sure you use the right size. You can use the long end for speed. You can use the ball end to get in tricky places. Don't crack bolts open with the ball end, and you should be fine. Now, if you've learned something today about Allen keys, drop a little smiley face in the comments below. It'll make me feel much better. And if you want me to do more videos on how to actually use these tools on wheelchairs, then let me know in the comments below. Until then, till next video.